The International Space Station, or ISS, was created after the Cold War by the United States and Russia as a symbol of collaboration between the two nations. It is a research facility where the crew works on researching medicine, technology, and space exploration. To this day, American and Russian astronauts have worked together in the ISS in perfect harmony regardless of their political opinions. Using the Soyuz rocket transport, American astronauts Kira and Christian travel to the ISS. As they dock with the station, Christian explains that the Russians knock 3 times to tell the others it is okay. Once they get inside, they meet the rest of the crew, Commanding Officer Gordon, Veronica, and brothers Nikolai and Alexei. Gordon is American and the other 3 are Russian. Veronica has been on the station for 50 days and Kira notices that she is very close to Gordon. She is a very positive woman and insists that the most important rule is to stick together. After a warm welcome, Gordon leads Kira through the locations, including her sleeping quarters. He explains that learning to sleep in won't be easy at first. Some astronauts sleep strapped to a bag, while others have learned to simply float in their quarters. Gordon advises her to use a sleeping bag until she feels comfortable. He also notes that the humming they keep hearing is the life support system, and if it ever stops making noise, that means they are in trouble. Gordon then introduces her to her workplace and the safe securing research and gives her the key to the American locks. She is allowed to use Russian cabinets, but then she has to sell keys. Kira immediately gets to work, putting several mice in a cage so they can observe them during his experiments. Alexei notices this and realizes that they will be working in close proximity for a while since their jobs are next to each other. Kira has read his research on and asks about his experiments, but Alexei explains that he lost all of his mice. After moving to the next room, Alexei carefully examines her installation. Later, while some S crew members are training, Kira observes Christian experimenting with a drill that can spray fire, which is impressive but frightening at the same time. During dinner, Christian distributes gifts from Earth and Nikolai takes out a bottle of alcohol. Kira accidentally tries to open it the normal way, causing bubbles of alcohol to float around, causing everyone to laugh. Next, the crew goes to the observation deck, where Kira reaches and enjoys a breathtaking view of Earth. The group discusses the review effect, a spiritual awakening that some astronauts experience when they see an Earth without borders and humanity as one. That night, Kira sees one of the boys sleeping on the boat and can't help but worry. Luckily, Veronica comforts her and helps her strap into her bag on the first night. Mentions that the hardest thing to sleep in space is when there is no one to hold onto. The next morning, the crew gets to work early. Christian tries to use the computer, but there is no signal, so they cannot transmit messages. Kira checks on her mice and notices that they have been attacking each other, but can't say why. Depressed, she goes to the observation deck to look at Earth, but there she sees a massive eruption. At first, she wonders if it is a volcanic eruption and tells the others, but soon there are multiple explosions in many places, one after the other. Panicking, the crew immediately abandons the deck and locks it before attempting to make contact with Earth but to no avail. Suddenly, Gordon receives a message from Mission Control telling him to remain silent, as it is sensitive information. It turns out that the USA and Russia are at war and the involvement of other countries is being investigated. The US government wants citizens to stop all experiments and take control of the station by any means possible. At his station, Nikolai also receives a message and Gordon wonders if he received a similar order. Nervous, he replies to the message with the word "why," but at that moment the power goes out only to come back in a second. Gordon pretends he couldn't contact Earth, but as soon as he gets some privacy with Kira and Christian, he tells them the truth. Christian immediately assumes the Russians got the same orders and blames them for the power outage, but Gordon tells him not to jump to conclusions and to wait for now. Then Veronica announces they have a big problem. The station has lost its internal propulsion and is falling out of orbit, which means they only have a day before the entire station will burn up in the atmosphere. There's a mention of using the Soyuz rocket to escape, but it doesn't have enough room for everyone and only triggers an argument. Kira sends a launch request message and hopes Mission Control receives it in time so they can just wait on for now. Suddenly, Alexei informs the crew that the antenna near station is damaged and requires manual repair. Christian snorts because he thinks it's a lie, but Gordon volunteers anyway. While he gets dressed, Veronica kisses him for good luck. Christian cautiously whispers his concerns that it could be a trap, but Gordon swears he trusts everyone on this team. When Gordon goes outside, he is horrified to see that the United States is now bright red, meaning his homeland is destroyed and burning. He uses the connection to ask Kira to keep everyone away from the windows. Meanwhile, Christian and Alexei try to talk, but their mood is tense and paranoid. Alexei then says he's going to the bathroom, but as soon as Christian leaves, comes out and opens the door. He's about to cut some wires, but hesitates. Back to Gordon, he carefully moves around the station while Kira chats with him to keep him calm. After several minutes of very slow space walking, Gordon is almost at the antenna, but at that moment Alexei cuts the wire and Gordon loses communication with the station. When Kira warns the others, Christian immediately notices that Alexei isn't around and rushes to check on the panels, but Alexei has covered his sabotage with fake wires and Christian finds nothing. Then Gordon notices his tether isn't long enough to reach the antenna, so he has no choice but to disconnect it. Making a very risky but calculated leap, Gordon finally reaches the antenna only to discover it's just fine and Christian had been right. At this point, Nikolai activates grapple arm, throwing Gordon off the station and sending him into space. Kira and Veronica panic when they can't reach Gordon or see him on the cameras. Christian checks the windows of and sees Gordon floating away. They run to pull the rope but find it empty. Evil Kira hides in her room and tries to cope with her grief. When Christian comes to check on her, tells Kira that he wants to find Gordon because the suit is supposed to keep him alive for several hours, but Christian assures her that there is no point. He also scolds her for thinking it was an accident, even though it is clear that the Russians acted first. Meanwhile, Veronica confronts Alexei and Nikolai and learns the truth: they have received orders from Russia to get rid of the Americans and MSS to conquer. However, Alexei swears that he only wanted to cut off communications and knew nothing of Nikolai's intentions. To defend himself, Nikolai says that the Americans did the same thing to them, but a frightened Veronica calls him a monster. Like Kira, she wants to look for Gordon, but the brothers refuse to help. Heartbroken, Veronica goes to another room to pass out. Afterward, Veronica asks Kira to talk in private because Kira is the only one she can trust since she is new. Veronica asks Kira to exchange keys, and when Kira says she has lost hers, Veronica can tell she's lying. Then both women admit they've received orders from the government, and Veronica admits the brothers killed Gordon, which makes Kira agree to help. Veronica has a plan: she'll create a distraction while Kira uses the Russian key to raid Alexei's box, which contains samples that could be used to treat radiation poisoning. Earth is going through a nuclear war and their countries want their research to use it as the ultimate bargaining chip, but Veronica thinks cures should be for everyone. She also finds that the most important samples are stored in Node 0. After they exchange keys, Veronica steals the drill gun and turns on the pure oxygen in one of S chambers, threatening to blow everything up. While Nikolai and Alexei try to calm her down, Kira goes to the research lab and begins searching for Node 0 but cannot find it. She asks Christian about it and Christian tells her that's not happening. Believing that Veronica was lying, the angry Kira goes looking for her, followed by Kristen. The duo makes it to the other room just in time for Veronica to hit Alexei with a wrench in. Christian uses this distraction to hurl a tank into the back of Veronica's head, killing her instantly. Alexei and Nikolai are devastated when Christian tries to tell them that he has no choice because she wanted to blow up the station. While Alexei and Nikolai mourn Veronica, Christian convinces Kira to go into hiding until communications are restored. Finally, Nikolai snaps and declares that he's done with all of this, calling it his duty. Some fires and destruction continue to spread across the globe. Alexei decides to have a drink to forget himself, and when looks at the screens, he discovers that Gordon is floating nearby and is still alive, so he immediately uses the grabbing hand to carefully guide him back into the house spring to. Meanwhile, Kira and Christian hide in their luggage. As Nikolai begins searching the area, Christian throws his toy at number, sending it in the opposite direction. Kira takes the opportunity to go out and meets Alexei, who helps her hide somewhere else and lies to his brother. At this point, the toy floats past again and Nikolai finally finds Christian, so he takes him to beat him up, but gets hit by Alexei instead when he tries to stop him. Kira then lunges at Nikolai to free Christian, whereupon Nikolai grabs her and begins choking her instead. Suddenly, Gordon appears and knocks Nikolai unconscious with a drill. He then asks about Veronica and loses his mind when he finds out she's dead. Angry, he locks himself in with Nikolai and a fight breaks out. As the men wrestle and land several punches, Gordon loses the drill and is picked up by Nikolai, who turns on him and impales Gordon. With the last of his strength, Gordon grabs a screwdriver from Nikolai's pocket and stabs him in the neck. When the others manage to open the door with drill, it is too late. Both men are dead and their bodies are floating in the room. As the world continues to burn, the remaining astronauts are taking time to grieve privately. Sometime later, Kira checks the computer and notices that they are losing altitude. While navigating through station, she finds a sign that says Node 0, meaning Christian, not Veronica, was lying. She rushes to his room to demand an explanation and discovers all the samples that can be used in S escape suit. It seems that Christian knew everything from the beginning and always planned to escape alone. At this point, Christian plans to turn off life support ventilation. Kira looks for Alexei to warn him, but he is in the same room as Christian, so she makes a few gestures to ask to turn off the music. Alexei does so and finds that the buzzing cannot be heard. She then taps the can on the table 3 times to indicate that Alexei is ready. Christian makes himself a sandwich and Kira tries to borrow a knife to make one, so Christian tries to get rid of Alexei by saying they need privacy. When Alexei refuses to leave, Christian grabs knife and tries to attack Kira, but Alexei intervenes and is stabbed in the arm instead. Due to his proximity, Alexei manages to grab and hold Christian while Kira chokes him with the necklace. Minutes later, Christian finally dies and Kira must come to terms with the fact that she has killed some people. Kira then bandages Alexei's knife wound and he can turn S life support back on. Kira then checks on his mice and discovers that Alexei has built a net for them to hold onto. Suddenly, the message telling them to speed up is finally confirmed, putting some of them out of immediate danger. Communications are soon restored and both governments question whether they have taken control of the station. Angry and frustrated with their leaders, the duo ignores messages from and uses a Soyuz rocket to leave the station with Alexei's research. As they free fall back to Earth, Alexei asks where they could go where it could be safe, but Kira has no idea. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.